What is going down, Sourdough Squad? Feels like we haven't connected in a while, but your boy is back from the NFL Combine, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of talk about prospects here coming up, but free agency is about a week away, and you can already see today all these things are kicking up, and especially about the quarterback position, which continues to be one of the main focus for the San Francisco 49ers moving forward. And I think it is time. We're getting lots of rumors about 49ers quarterbacks, guys that they could potentially bring in, all this type of stuff. So we are going to have to get into it all right now. Let's get after it. Yee. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, SDS? It has been phenomenal to hear from you guys. And don't you worry, Justin. We are going to do a ton of combine stuff this week, and we'll probably get into the combine on this show as well. But, you know, what it is. 49ers, we want to talk about quarterback. And, I had the opportunity to run into a couple people regarding the San Francisco 49ers quarterback. Jordan Elliott had a great article that he put out speaking with Quincy Avery about Trey Lance. I met Brock Purdy's quarterback coach and talked to Brock Purdy's quarterback coach for a solid 20 minutes. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about with these quarterbacks and everything that comes with it. And again, a lot of this got started off with a question that Jason Aponte asked John Lynch at the NFL Combine about having to look into the veteran market. And what did John Lynch say? He said, actually, we may have to look into that quarterback market. And as we have heard, it's interesting that a lot of the rumors are starting to pick up after the combine. Why is that? Because that's where the entire NFL world comes together and talks, and all these things are shared. And that's why there are a ton of rumors this week after the combine has concluded. I could tell you firsthand, man, those steakhouses be turning up. It's crazy over there. Again, I walk into one of the steakhouses. The first person I see, I look to my right, I make eye contact with Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. I'm like, oh, what's up, Mike? You walk through. I'm like, oh, there's Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys. What's good, Jerry? Then I walk by another table, and there's Mike McDaniel, former 49ers offensive coordinator, now head coach of the, as you know, Miami Dolphins. And you see Albert Breer walking around. You see Ian Rappaport walking around, shaking hands, talking to agents, all that type of stuff. So that's why there's so many rumors. I mean, everyone is together in the same situation. Like, it's unbelievable. But with the San Francisco 49ers, we understand what it is. It's time to get a quarterback because, as we know, we finally found out about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy will be having UCL repair surgery. I think it's this Friday. That was originally reported by The Athletic reporter Matt Barrows. So that was pretty, finally got some clarity with that situation. Hey, not too much was said. But when I talked to Brock Purdy's quarterback coach, again, he trains him in the offseason. He said Brock's going to be all right. Don't you worry about Brock. I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. You probably know better than anyone else. Then he's also Anthony Richardson's quarterback coach. He also told me that Anthony Richardson was going to break every combine record in existence. And sure enough, Anthony Richardson, Florida quarterback, came out, and I'm not sure that guy's human. But again, both Brock Purdy's quarterback coach is also Anthony Richardson's quarterback coach. So that was pretty cool. Got to see him, talk to him. I talked to also in that same scenario, Trey Lance's pre-draft trainer. I'm not sure he's training with him now. I believe Quincy's training with him, but also spoke to his pre-draft trainer heading into the draft. So we got some pretty awesome insight from people directly in the know of the situation. But again, it's still going to be something that we have to monitor. We're going to have to see how it's going to continue to progress and what the ultimate outcome is, because we have to understand, we have to make sure that it's not Tommy John. If it's Tommy John and Brock Purdy is out for the entire year, obviously that is a completely different conversation. And in some instance, the repair is still Tommy John, but it's not full-blown Tommy John. So we need that repair. We need the brace put in. A full-blown reconstruction of Brock Purdy's elbow would have him out for the entire year. But I think we have to start discussing who that veteran quarterback may be. We've heard reports and rumors that even Baker Mayfield, the 49ers are apparently showing interest in Baker Mayfield. Some other names that have been floated around: Andy Dalton, Jacoby Brissett. And we've gone through this before. We had our tier rankings of backup quarterbacks. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see where the 49ers land on this one. Is it going to be one of these backups, as we've heard today? I don't know. I'm seeing this a lot though from 49er fans when they're talking about, oh, quarterback this, quarterback that. Some 49er fans are like, we'll go get Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson was tagged today. So basically the situation with Lamar is that Lamar Jackson has the opportunity to negotiate with any team. So basically, Lamar can go get a deal from another team, and then what would have to happen is the team would have to send back 2 first-round draft picks. Well, 49ers don't have a first-round draft pick this year. They do next year, but not this year. And something tells me that the San Francisco 49ers aren't going to be giving up any first-round draft picks for a while. It's too soon. Maybe in about a decade from now, they'd be willing to ship some first-round picks for some players. But again, they invested a lot. 3 first-round draft picks into Trey Lance. I don't think Lamar's coming to town. I hate to break it to you. Lamar is a fascinating quarterback. He's a phenomenal athlete and is clearly deserving of a big-time payday. Former MVP, but I don't think he's going to be playing for the San Francisco 49ers anytime soon because you got to pay him and you got to give up draft capital. Doesn't feel like it's going to happen. Feels like the 49ers are going to have to, they have an opportunity right now to add someone else to the mix that is more cost effective. They could potentially sign them on a 1-year deal, 2-year deal. Doesn't have to be someone that's going to be here for a long time, but more so an insurance policy moving forward. So those are the quarterbacks that I think we need to be talking about. And we already know it's probably going to be one of these veteran backups. I know a lot of people have talked about drafting a guy, and I just got a great look at some of these quarterbacks. Got a great look at Jake Haener, Clayton Tune, Dorian, the UCLA quarterback who Jordan Elliott interviewed, said he had a formal meeting with the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, there's a chance that the 49ers could draft a guy, but I think they would be best suited to sign a veteran. I mean, let me know what you guys think in the chat. Would you rather they have a quarterback room of Trey Lance going into year 3, Brock Purdy going into year 2, and a rookie, or a veteran? Which one to you makes more sense? Um, I've explained what makes most sense to me. I truly don't, from a cost perspective, a rookie makes sense, but if you are genuinely concerned that this third string quarterback might actually play, I am not betting on Brock Purdy coming around again. What Brock Purdy did was very rare. But what you're going to start seeing is that creates a trend where other teams are going to try to replicate Brock Purdy. So any quarterback that had any type of similarities to Brock is probably going a round or two higher because they can't make that mistake again. You can't let Brock Purdy become Mr. Irrelevant and come in and just go undefeated, So that is going to change the way teams evaluate quarterbacks. It really is. So Brock Purdy changed that. There's a new trend. Teams are going to start taking these guys that have lots of experience sooner, might not have all the physical tools, but if they clearly show that they had the experience, again, Brock Purdy helped his position out, and he's going to get guys drafted a round or two ahead. So looking at the chat, does feel like a majority of the chat is looking at a veteran to add to the mix. I would agree 100%. If I don't mind the 49ers bringing in another potentially late round rookie, maybe a 7th round draft pick, maybe an undrafted free agent guy, and putting him on the practice squad, a guy that they know that they can keep internally and develop, that isn't going to get poached from another roster. I'm okay with that. But that's 4th string quarterback. We're talking about 3rd string. And I think, first of all, the teams typically only carry 2 quarterbacks, a 1st and 2nd stringer. But we're in a situation where it's basically a foregone conclusion that the 49ers are going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. So at that point, you got to get someone who has real world experience. College isn't enough. It just isn't. And we can't rely on trying to find another Brock Purdy. So you got to go out and get another quarterback that has veteran experience, starting experience. And I really think that's where you have to go. It's going to be very interesting to see who that player may be. I fully believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to add a veteran quarterback, but who's that quarterback? Which one is it going to be? And so I think that's where the conversation lies. I feel like Jacoby Brissett would be a phenomenal, best case scenario, a phenomenal 3rd stringer. One of the running jokes from the combine is because Carson Wentz got cut, right? I believe while we were at the combine. So, Jordan, Jason, everyone else give me a hard time because they're like, oh, 49ers going to pick up Carson Wentz, your ginger brother. Oh, 49ers going to pick up Andy Dalton, your ginger brother. I'm sorry. If it were up to me, no ginger quarterbacks in the San Francisco 49ers quarterback room next year. I'm sorry. I genuinely do have a ton of love for my ginger brethren, but no, not today. No Cooper Rush, no Carson Wentz, no Andy Dalton. I don't want it. I'm sorry. I love you guys, and I love your fiery red hair. but no ginger quarterbacks for me this year. Um, and I even liked Wentz. I liked Wentz a lot. I don't think Wentz is a good fit for this locker room. Everything that I've heard, um, you know, uh, you know, we had the opportunity to make a great relationship with Nate Adkins, who's on the beat for Indianapolis. We hang out with Nate all the time when we go to the combine now. So Nate has all the information on Carson Wentz. Um, Everything that I've heard about Carson Wentz, I don't want Carson Wentz. I mean, and I'm going to believe the guy that's in the locker room every day talking to these guys. He's like, you don't want Carson Wentz. He's not he's not a team guy. He's a me guy, which was surprising to hear. But hey, it feels like that's been the sentiment where he's gone. So listen, Carson Wentz was a phenomenal quarterback at one point. I don't. I don't want any ginger quarterbacks in this room. But hey, it might happen. We might see Andy Dalton over here. I know the 49ers had showed interest in Andy Dalton before he signed with the Saints. So it could happen. But for me, no gingers in my quarterback room in 2023. That's kind of how I feel. Um, what are you guys' thoughts on Baker Mayfield, huh? What is Baker an option for you guys after you saw how Baker played with the Rams? He would have a little bit scheme familiarity. Obviously, it's not apples to apples, Sean and Kyle, but they come from the same base structure. Do you feel like that would be an option you'd be okay with, or no Baker allowed? Let me know what you think. What would be interesting is, would Nick Bosa plant a flag in Baker Mayfield's locker? So far, a lot of no's on Baker Mayfield. A lot of no's. And I would have to imagine that, you know, the front office would definitely uh ask their key guys like Nick Bosa, ask what they felt about Baker Mayfield, and if they would be okay with that. One of the biggest things that I've learned about this roster is that Kyle does look for input from his top players, and one of the things that they are definitely trying to accomplish is keep good football personalities in the building. I don't know. I don't know if they want Baker. I don't know if they do. They could. They're rumored to want Baker. Do they want Baker, though? Do they? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. So maybe Baker's not an option for the 49ers. There's a lot of news coming out that, Tom Brady. People are still holding on that Tom Brady is going to come back out of retirement. There's rumors that Tom Brady would only play for teams like the 49ers or the Miami Dolphins. Tom Brady tweeted today that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know. I don't know about that. But I've talked about it before. I've sold myself on Sam Darnold. I would take Teddy Bridgewater, and I've been a big fan of Teddy Bridgewater in the past. But this is my thing, right? The only reason we would be going to one of these quarterbacks is because of injury. And Teddy Bridgewater wasn't he had a lot of opportunity to play as a Dolphin, but he couldn't because he couldn't stay healthy. So that's the only thing that is kind of slowing me down on Teddy Bridgewater. I love Teddy. I think Teddy is a leader. I think he has the ability to execute the type of scheme that Kyle wants and the way to be executed. He's a facilitator. He does have some movement ability. He's cerebral. I love Teddy Bridgewater, man. But last year he wasn't able to stay healthy. So I don't know. I don't know if Teddy's a guy that I'd have at least in tier one. And again, we went through this whole thing. We've heard Mason Rudolph could be a guy that they're interested in. Jacoby Brissett, Andy Dalton. I wouldn't mind Mike White if we're being honest. Wouldn't mind Mike White. Taylor Heineke's probably at the top. I like Taylor Heineke personally. I wouldn't mind him one bit. He seems like a guy that, has been through it, would be a good person to lean on for that locker room. I like Tyler Huntley, but I don't think Tyler Huntley is going to be a guy that the 49ers are looking for. Jarrett Stidham. I like Jarrett Stidham. Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is an interesting case study. I think Gardner Minshew would be fun. Gardner would be a fun guy to have in the locker room. I feel like he would fit in instantly with his quirkiness. I think that would be a guy that would fit overall. But again, what it comes down to is it's probably going to be one of these guys. Just which one is it? Do they bring Nate Sudfeld back? I don't know. I don't think they do. I don't think they do, to be perfectly honest. He was here. They let him go. I don't think so. So the best part of it all is that there are a ton of options. There are a ton of options for what the San Francisco 49ers need, not only just like in free agency, but it also kind of transitions into the draft as well. When you look at the draft, there aren't a ton of like blue chip prospects. There really aren't a ton of guys with first round grades out here, but there's a lot of depth in this draft. I mean, you can see it. There aren't your high end players, but there are going to be a lot of third and fourth, fifth round prospects are going to start in this league. And guess what? The San Francisco 49ers actually find themselves in a pretty good spot. 3 third rounders, multiple fourths, fifth, sixth, and sevenths. It actually benefits pretty well. Benefits them pretty well. They're going to be able to find some starters in this draft. But I think you do turn to the veteran quarterback to come in, be QB3, serve some multiple roles. Again, ideally have a guy with starting experience, understands the scheme already, can be someone that both Trey and Brock can lean on. And if it ever comes to the third string quarterback, you feel pretty good about it. You feel like, oh, this guy can get the job done with the way the roster's built. We just need a facilitator. That's the biggest thing about Kyle Shanahan's scheme. You just need someone to point guard. That's it. They don't need to be making the windmill dunks. They don't got to be out here putting on a show. They really do just got to be facilitator. Get the ball out fast, find the reads, be able to understand coverages and manipulate coverages. That they don't have to be these Lamar Jacksons. Obviously, if you have that ceiling, that's a plus. But you've seen Brock Purdy might not have the biggest arm ever, but he gets the job done. So give me someone like that. Give me someone who's a good locker room person. Give me someone that has good leadership traits and intangibles, and that will come in and be, someone that can continue to help develop Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. And if they are ever needed, we would feel okay with them as the starting quarter. And there's a lot of those guys. So I'm team veteran quarterback. And again, shout out to my guy, Nate Adkins, beat reporter for the Indianapolis Colts. We talked to him about Matt Ryan. And I think a lot of people have been connecting the dots with Matt Ryan to be that kind of role for the San Francisco 49ers. And That may work. That may be a fit. But also from what I've heard of people who cover the Indianapolis Colts is Matt Ryan's kind of cooked. Now again, he fits a lot of what I've asked for and kind of detailed, right? He fits the ability to be a leader, someone that has plenty of experience and with Kyle Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan's scheme. Um, so maybe that works. Um, so it'll be interesting though. I think Matty Ice, I'm 50-50 on it. I don't think it'd be the end of the world if Matt Ryan came in and was one of those guys, but I also would much rather hope that you get a guy that you could maybe even develop. You get a little youth in the bill. It's a hard balance, man. It's a hard balance. That's why I kind of like Sam Darnold a little bit. And again, you guys know me. I've bagged on Sam Darnold quite a bit. Uh, but I think as quarterback 3, there could be some value there. And if and Steve Wilks knows Sam Darnold. So it's not as much of a shot in the dark because Steve Wilks coached Sam Darnold. Steve Wilks made the decision to put Sam Darnold. Oh, this is a good call. Ooh, okay. We got one exception for one ginger. We got one ginger exception. That's it. And it's one of the gingers that I have disliked the most. Sam Darnold, I called him a bust coming out of USC. I did not think Sam Darnold was going to be a good quarterback because not of his physical ability. That was not that you can't knock Sam Darnold's physical ability. You just can't. He's probably up there with one of the top toolsy guys in the NFL. But where does Sam Darnold struggle? He struggles with processing. That was his issue. He struggles with processing. He struggles with confidence. I don't know if he's a natural leader or not, but those are huge things that you have to have. And Brock Purdy's a perfect example of that. Phenomenal processor, puts the ball where it needs to be, might not have all the tools, might not have all the traits, but again, you see the difference. Those tools mean nothing if you can't actually use them in a functional environment. So that's why I was never a big Sam Darnold guy, but Sam Darnold, quarterback 3, he had a 7-3 touchdown interception ratio when he started the last couple games under Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks will know. Steve Wilks will give the 49ers an honest scouting report on Sam Darnold. And if Steve Wilks gives the seal of approval, I know Mike Shanahan loved Sam Darnold coming out. There's been Sam Darnold rumors before linked to the 49ers. So maybe Sam Darnold's kind of like an underrated guy. You know, they're putting the rumors out. No one's talking about Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? So just something to keep an eye on. They're talking about Baker Mayfield. I would think they would want Sam Darnold before they would want Baker Mayfield. That's what my thought would be. I feel like for them, and again, especially with the Steve Wilks connection, Sam Darnold would be the guy much sooner than Baker would be that guy. So never. The only ginger. No. Nope. I'll take Sam Darnold over Andy Dalton. I will. You put these two gingers up against each. I'm taking Sammy, which is unbelievable. Which is unbelievable for me. It's quite the swing for me because I was adamant against anything Sam Darnold, but I've sold myself. That's the only ginger exception. Only ginger exception. Ideally, though, for me, Brissett, Heineke, Mike White, those are the types of like tier one guys that I'm looking at. So my tier one guys again, tier one guys are Jacoby Brissett, Mike White, Taylor Heineke. I'm intrigued by Stidham. Stidham would be like a tier and a half. I'm intrigued by Stidham. I'd say Gardner Minshew tier one. So I'd say I have four tier ones. Four tier ones. Gardner Minshew. Where did it go? Gardner Minshew, Taylor Heineke, Mike White, Jacoby Brissett, tier one backups, four quarterback three. The half tier between tier one and tier two would be Sam Darnold and Stidham. So if you get me any one of those six guys, Marcus Mariota. Yeah, I put Marcus Mariota tier one. Marcus Mariota tier one. Marcus Mariota tier one. You're right. Five tier one quarterbacks. I'd put Marcus Mariota in tier one. Starting ability, or definitely been a starter in this league. Has a bit of the dual threat ability. Would fit into a scheme that would help kind of match Trey Lance. Marcus Mariota has definitely had to kind of evolve his game as a pro style quarterback, but as someone who has immense talent as a runner. So I would put Mariota in tier one. So yeah, good call on that. But what's going to be fascinating, I think I saw someone say it in the chat. Friday is going to be a big day. Whether it's Friday, whether it's Saturday, I'm sure we will get a report saying, Brock Purdy had a successful UCL repair, or worst case scenario, Brock Purdy had full blown Tommy John. We're going to find out Friday, Saturday. So that's going to keep us a little bit more clear heading into the legal tampering period. We're pretty much next week. Free agency is going to kick off. You can already see some of the hype that's been picking up. Today is the franchise tag deadline. So we got to see which players got tagged, which players beat the tag and are getting, contract extension. Daniel Jones. Did you guys see the contract that Daniel Jones got? My goodness. That's crazy. Daniel Jones got paid. Unbelievable, man. He got so much money. Geno Smith, 3 years, 105 million. What? So, bro, if Seattle Seahawks, which I actually don't think would be a bad move by them, if they pay Geno Smith 3 years, 105 million, and then they turn around and draft Anthony Richardson. Oh man, that would suck. That would really, really suck. It would be a phenomenally smart move, in my opinion, by the Seahawks. I know none of us are scared of Geno Smith, but if you get that bridge guy and then you draft Anthony Richardson, and you draft Anthony Richardson to sit behind Geno, and you could let AR develop. Yikes. That would suck. I had a lot of fun watching AR in person at the combine. That was good stuff. So yeah, we'll find out what's going on at the quarterback position. We'll have a whole lot more clarity, I think, in the next week, and I think we'll have definitely a lot less speculation. You know what I mean? Um, so this is going to be one of the last weeks that we get to kind of speculate what's going on with the 49ers quarterbacks, because we're going to know what's going on with Brock. We're going to know who they signed, and it's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting. Ooh, I got a lot of good. There's a lot of good offensive line prospects, man. I'd posted like this clip of there's like 5 guys in a row, in a grouping. It was Nick Saldiveri, Old Dominion. It was John Michael Schmitz, Minnesota. Juice Scruggs out of Penn State. Peter Skoronsky, Northwestern. And City Sow, Eastern Michigan. City Sow is a very intriguing prospect to me. He kind of reminds me of Poe a little bit. He's definitely got a smaller body type, but he moves really well, and he's real stocky. Looks like he could be a guy. But Nick Saldiveri is one of my favorite offensive linemen right now. John Michael Schmitz is a guy that I don't think will be there at 99, but if the 49ers potentially want to trade up, that could be a guy that they target. I liked him a lot. But there's a bunch of offensive linemen that I came away liking even more. Jalen Duncan out of Maryland. I interviewed him, and he told me that he formally met with the San Francisco 49ers. Braden Daniels is a guy I actually waited at the podium, and I've talked to him since, but apparently what had happened was there's a medical delay. So they were going from the medicals to the interviews. So I was standing there like a doofus right in front of Braden Daniels' podium out of Utah, and he never came out. But I've been DMing him, asked him what was going on. He said there's a medical delay. He's a guy I like because he made all Pac-12 honors at guard, right tackle, and left tackle. So he has that versatility that you really like to see. I think Blake Freeland is a guy for me that I can't wait to watch on tape. I got the chance to interview Blake Freeland. The reason why I interviewed Blake Freeland is because I spoke to Jim Nagy. He's the head of the Senior Bowl. He does all the scouting for the Senior Bowl. And I was like, listen, the 49ers probably aren't going to re-sign Mike McGlinchey. Who's the guy that I should be looking for? And he said the best guy at the Senior Bowl that I think will be a dominant right tackle in the NFL is going to be Blake Freeland out of BYU. So I got to ask Blake Freeland a couple questions. He let me know that he had a formal meeting with the San Francisco 49ers, and then he proceeded to just go and blow up the combine, showing that he's an athlete. He's like, 6'7", 300, ran a sub-5 40, broke the record for vertical jump. Dude's a freak. And that's the kind of guy that would fit perfectly into our kind of outside scheme, but we also run gap scheme. Freeland is, and I got to go watch the tape now. But from, talking to him, seems like a great kid. Clearly has the athletic traits. Now we got to go dive into the tape, and we got to go see if it matches. So that's what I'm really excited about. Being able to talk to these guys without really knowing like a whole lot about them, and now going into their tape, I think it's going to be a good one. Cody Mauch, my fellow ginger brother out of NDSU, I got to interview him as well. But he's going to be out of range for the 49ers. He could even be a first round draft pick. But there are a bunch of guys. And I'm going to do like a full blown kind of recap of all the combine stuff as we continue to move forward. But I'm happy to tell you, at least from this experience, that I think the 49ers are absolutely going to be able to get a tackle, I think they're going to be able to. I mean, Freeland may have took himself out of the category at 99. There are a couple guys. Byron Young out of Tennessee. That was a guy that you felt like could be available at 99. He is no longer going to be available at 99. He absolutely tested through the roof, and he will not be available for the 49ers unless they trade up. So definitely a lot of guys made some money at the combine this week. I think Saldiveri is a guy who made some money. I think Saldiveri will be kind of a third, fourth round pick. I think that's where he'll ultimately end up getting drafted. He's ranked pretty low right now. But he's definitely going to be a guy that the 49ers turn to, and definitely might find some value in the kind of mid rounds on him. So I'm still super high on Saldiveri. I talked to him for like 6 minutes, and just great dude, locked in, technically advanced. And I think he's literally like, he could be our next Daniel Brunskill. So when you look at Saldiveri, this guy could come in and technically start at right tackle. I talked to Duke. I think Merriweather is his name. He's the number one offensive line trainer for all these guys. He trades Creed Humphreys. He trains Slater. He trains everyone. I got to talk to him. He's a guy that, speaking of Duke, this is Duke right here. So he's O-line masterminds. This is literally Duke's shirt. Got to talk to him. But he said Saldiveri could start at right tackle. Everyone's trying to convert him into a center or a guard, which he totally can play, but he could also start at right tackle. So Saldiveri is a guy that is high on my list. You guys know I love versatile offensive linemen. I love technically advanced offensive linemen. He's got good size. He's 6'6", and he could play all 5 spots, really. I mean, he might find himself on the right side more opposed to the left, but that's definitely a guy that, if the 49ers don't retain Brunskill, they could draft his replacement in Nick Saldiveri out of Old Dominion. So that's a guy that I'm big on. And he was my draft crush going in after interviewing, after seeing him. He didn't test out the roof or anything like that, but I know what his tape looks like. And continuing to talk to people who, one, not only train him, but know him enough, continue to provide to me that I'm confident in my evaluation of him, and they believe so as well. So definitely big on that. What do I think about McGarry being available? Depends on how much. If he's asking for more than $8 million a year, I'd probably pass, man. I don't know. I also haven't watched a ton of him in the NFL, so I don't want to give you like a scouting report just off of whatever. I haven't watched a ton of McGarry in the pros. Just from my perception of him, he seems pretty average. But again, that's solely perception. I gotta watch the tape, man. Gotta watch the tape. I don't wanna lead you guys in the wrong direction. But to me, with these free agents, it definitely would be more about cost than anything else. Um, so we'll see. We will see. But man, a lot of good prospects at the combine. Again, a lot of guys that we're going to be able to find, I think, in the mid rounds, mid to late rounds. We're going to find some gems. Um, Already guys that I've seen on tape that looked pretty dang good. Found out that the 49ers had formal meetings with Demario Davis out of Liberty is a guy that I really like from the wide receiver position. I loved his interview. He was a phenomenal interview. You could tell he's a football guy, just really uh it one of the things when you're talking to a ton of prospects back to back to back to back, you kind of get a sense of like, all right, which guys are comfortable around the media, which guys give you thoughtful answers, which guys give you baseline answers. Demario was a guy that would just you feel like you could have a full blown conversation with them, and he would give you all the time in the world. Just felt like a really genuine dude. And he also just looks like a future yak type of guy. He's the type of guy that you get the ball in his hands and he's cooking. Um, so he made a couple phenomenal catches. He made 2 catches where he had a dive for him at the combine. He did have one pretty bad drop, but that was about it. He made up for him. So that's a guy that I really liked. Uh, the Princeton wide receiver, I think, is someone that's going to surprise a little bit. So, I like it. A lot of good stuff from the combine, man. Fun story from the combine. I almost got tackled by Stephen Jones. I think Stephen Jones is the president of the Cowboys. I think that's his official title. But I literally almost got pancaked by Stephen Jones as he was walking out of the bar. Um, hey, one thing about going to the combine and going to these steakhouses, man, uh, you see who turns up, and Stephen Jones turned up. Could barely walk out of that place. Literally thought he was gonna barrel right into me. He hit the and he pulled up literally like 2 inches in front of my face. I was like, that was a close one. Almost, almost got destroyed by the president of the Cowboys. So that was interesting. Um, it's cool. I really wanted to talk to Adam Peters. I stood about 5 feet from him. Um, he was talking to someone, so I was kind of like scoping out like when the good time would be to kind of go introduce myself. Unfortunately, that window never came. I ended up talking. Some other people came over and introduced themselves, and I ended up talking to these guys for a little while. And then they shut everything down, and he dipped before I could say what's up. But I mean, from everything to being at the combine, interviewing the players, watching the workouts, and going to see the NFL life when they're not working. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool to kind of just see these guys in a normal environment. I think we put these guys on a pedestal, and we see them from afar, but when you get to see them so close, uh, it's really cool. And a lot of them, you just go up, talk to them, say what's up. They'll give you some time. I remember Jordan and we were walking out of the combine. We walked by Mike Vrabel, Tennessee head coach. Then we walked by the Bears general manager, and then the Browns general manager within 30 seconds. Um, it's pretty crazy. We were walking to dinner one day. I look over my left, like out of my peripheral, look out of my left shoulder, and it's it's Boone, former starting right guard for the 49ers under the Harbaugh era. And I was like, holy crap, Rhino. And he's like, yeah, what's up, man? So I introduced myself to Boone, and we were chopping it up because he had the Minnesota center. He's a O-line trainer now. He had the Minnesota center. So he was at the combine. But a cool thing about Boone was he's a Shanahan truther. So he's like, hey man, like after we were talking a little bit, he's like, hey man, I don't know if you guys are Kyle Shanahan fans or what, but Kyle Shanahan, he's the man. And like that's the guy. Like that, he's the best coach in the NFL, man. Or not the best coach, but he's like, yeah, dude, that's I don't know. All these people talking crap about Kyle Shanahan, man. Like, that's the guy. He's our like Boone confirmed Kyle Shanahan stan. So you love to see it. We're like, hey man, we're on these Twitter streets out here riding for Kyle too. So glad we're not the only ones. Boone is a big fan of Kyle Shanahan and what he does. So again, combine super cool. But kind of once the craziness of today is over, we will go back and we're going to be draft focused here. Obviously, free agency is going to start to take over pretty soon. But I still want to get combine recaps. Got to do some mock drafts, all that type of stuff. So we're definitely going to talk about the combine this week. We're going to talk about specific position groups, guys that I think is going to be a fit for the 49ers and things like that. So, but also we got to get ready for free agency. All the free agency hype is going to kick up here really fast, and you could see it today. The 49ers didn't tag anyone. So no 49ers players were tagged at the deadline, which I'm okay with. I don't think the 49ers should have tagged Robbie Gould. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Robbie Gould leaving in free agency. I know a lot of people are kind of a bit upset about that, and they wanted him to come back. But to be honest, I understand the move from the business perspective. I get it. Robbie's still probably going to get a check this year if he still wants to play ball. So he does have an opportunity to get a decent sized contract. If he's looking for a multi-year contract, I definitely don't think that makes sense for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, Robbie has been great. He's been clutch in the playoffs. But listen, he's 40 years old, and the 49ers have already paid him a ton of money. And I get replacing him won't just be easy. It won't just be something where we're like, oh, we're going to be able to replace this guy who's been a phenomenal locker room guy. And it's going to be, there might be some bumps and bruises along the way. But I also do believe that there's a time for transition, and this is that time. So I'm behind the move 100%. And you guys know I talked about it when it came to who's staying, who's going. I was like, you know what? Listen, like unless Robbie's coming back on a cost efficient deal, a 1-year cost efficient deal, then it's time to turn the page and get younger at the position and cheaper. Get cheaper at kicker. Hopefully you're able to land and hit on someone, whether it's in the draft, undrafted free agent, or you go after a potential guy like Matt Gay, former Rams kicker, didn't get franchise tagged. He's available. Eddie Pinheiro, former Panthers kicker, he's available. Again, get cheaper and younger at the position. I think that's what you got to do, and so I'm okay with it. Robbie's been phenomenal. Robbie's been fantastic. He's a great locker room guy. He's a great leader in the organization. But I also get it. This is a business move, right? And I think we can let our emotions get in the way sometimes of liking or not liking a move. But with Robbie, this is a business move. Got to get younger, got to get cheaper, and I'm all for it. I'll take it. I'm fine with it. Um, so we'll see. Uh, is Gay going to be that much cheaper than Gould? I don't know, but he's younger. He's younger than him. So, and that's the thing. You don't know when Robbie's going to fall off, or like, you just don't know. Maybe it's this year. Maybe Robbie isn't Robbie anymore. Like, again, you just don't know. And I don't think the 49ers want to be financially strapped to someone in that scenario. Again, I think it just makes sense. Obviously, kickers can kick well into their 40s, so you never know. But listen, I'm okay with it. Get younger. We'll see. We just don't want that third round kicker spot. David said, I just heard on KBR he still might return. Maybe. I mean, Matt Barrows would know. I think that was Matt Barrows who said that. So listen, I know the original report came from Adam Schefter. If Matt Barrows feels like he could return, maybe he does. I got respect for Matty, and I don't think Matt Barrows would go out on a limb and just say that to say that. So if Barrows thinks he could return, yeah, maybe there's a chance. But again, also, I think this is a football business decision. How much is it going to cost? How many years? Those are the concerns right now. Not that Robbie can't do it. It's just what's the price? What's the price tag? So could he return? Of course he could return. But for the 49ers at the right price for the right duration. Now they have to see if that fits for the 49ers and them. Do you think we still have a shot at Isaiah McGuire post combine? I do. Like when I think I had Byron Young, Tennessee, and Isaiah McGuire pretty close to each other heading into the draft. But I do believe that Byron rose his stock. Again, Byron went crazy. Isaiah, I don't think had a good of as combine as he had wanted. I was watching him the whole time. You could see it in his body language. I don't think he was liking what he was putting out. He really was having a hard time keeping his footing, but so were a lot of players. That field was slippery. But I do think Isaiah didn't do anything to drop his stock or raise it. I think he's still kind of just right there at about that pick 100 range. So I think he's still there in reach for the 49ers. Byron, though, I think Byron's gone. I think where we thought we could get Byron at 99, I think Byron's top 75. You might make the argument he's top 60. So I think we're out of the range with Byron. I got to talk to Byron. Byron seems like a really good kid, man. And so I would imagine Byron is definitely out of our reach, but I do think Isaiah is still available. Kind of where we thought he was. He didn't have a terrible combine, but he didn't have a great combine. He had a good combine, if that makes sense. I don't think anything that really made you be like, whoa, like I wasn't expecting him to test like that. I think testing was all kind of in realm of where we thought, and field drills, he was sliding everywhere. So I still think he'll be in range. I had a dream. John Lynch said he's looking into a trade for Brian Burns. Literally, I am not lying to you. I had a vivid dream I've never had a dream about Brian Burns before. For how much I talk about Brian Burns, I've never had a dream about Brian Burns. Yet last night, I had a vivid dream that Brian Burns called me and told me to tell John Lynch that if they go and trade for me, that I will sign on a deal that makes sense for the Niners to give an extension to Bosa and then sign an extension for Burns. Dude, I I think the Brian Burns agenda is starting to take over my own mind. It's taking over my subconscious mind. Like, I woke up like, did I really just have a Brian Burns dream? Did that really happen? Where I'm on the phone with Brian Burns and he's like, "Hey man, tell John Lynch he comes get me. I'm gonna sign. I'm not gonna make him go crazy with the numbers. I want to play here. I want to play across from Bosa. I want to win football games. I don't need money's not the number one factor. I want to play on a good team, good D line." He's like, I dreamt that. Like, what the hell, man? What is wrong with me? Like, even me, I'm like, that is concerning. Like, I love Brian Burns. The fact that I'm having dreams about Brian Burns, I'm like, that's a little concerning. Like, oh boy, that's wild. Like, listen, like, I can't, like, you can't make that up. Like, who has dreams about players? Like, who does that? Weirdos. Like, who has dreams like, hey man, tell John Lynch, like I talked to John Lynch too. That's the best part. I talked to John Lynch in this dream, and John Lynch apparently listens to me. Like, what the heck, man? What like, dude, crazy, crazy. Made me had to kind of evaluate my mentals right now. What the heck, man? Oh god. Literally. This is literally happening. I like this dream too. I like that dream. That's a dream that we need. I need to start manifesting that dream. This Burns easy, but Burns is going to be a lot harder to get. I heard that the uh Chargers are going to, Khalil Mack's going to be a cap casualty. If you guys don't remember, John Lynch was trying like hell to trade for Khalil Mack. You guys remember that? But the Raiders refused. They didn't want to trade Khalil Mack in their backyard, so they traded him to the Bears. John Lynch has even said on record that he believes what they had on the table was a better offer than what was accepted, but it came down to the Raiders not wanting to trade into their backyard. So, if Khalil Mack becomes available, I would 100% see John Lynch seeing what that would take. He already tried to trade for him. I mean, obviously Khalil Mack is, maybe lost a step or just hasn't produced at the level that we thought he would have with the Chargers. But if you can get him on a good price, hey, maybe he comes through to the 49ers. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Hopefully the nightmares are over. Hopefully hopefully they're over. But hey, we'll see. We will see what's gonna happen. So, big week ahead of us. I know the off season up until this point has been kind of boring, but guess what? It's going to get ramped up here very much so with free agency coming. Teams are going to be going crazy with signing guys getting cut potentially. So, hey man, offseason's been kind of boring up until this point, but after the draft, it's all gas, no brakes until the draft. Um, so get ready. We're gonna be cooking. It's a good question. I'm gonna poke around. I don't even know who I would talk to about that, but yeah, I'm gonna poke around. I'll see what maybe try to go to at least the local ones. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't. I got to figure out who I'd even talk to for that stuff. But will be interesting to see. Nonetheless, I would love. That would be fun, man. Um. All right. So, pro day for is Friday or that's surgery's Friday. From everything I've heard, it sounded like there was some confusing reports. Some said Wednesday, some said Friday. I'm pretty clear it's Friday. Um, oh, that's an interesting question. So who was your biggest disappointment from the combine? Hmm. I was a little disappointed in Will Levis. A little bit. I thought Will should have been better. I thought Will should have been better. There's a lot of hype about Will, Kentucky quarterback. A lot of like, oh, could he be the number one overall pick? I'm like, he's inconsistent. He might have a good. He does have a good arm. I mean, that thing comes out on a rope. He can throw far, but you can see he's inconsistent, even on the deep ball. Like he was throwing short on deep balls. I was like, man, you got the arm talent. That's not the problem. The problem was the processing into like, where do I put this thing? He overthrew guys a bunch of times, and again, it could just be combine. It could just be, but I actually expected more out of Will Levis. I actually the most to me, outside of C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson, the most consistent quarterback was a D2 kid. Uh, so is USC Vorhe or whatever his name is, the guy who tore his ACL, draftable by us? I would say no, not draftable. Maybe free agent. Um, but just tearing his ACL now, he's probably going to miss all of next year or a good majority of next season. So it definitely be a redshirt guy. Um, he didn't look all that great with his agility. Definitely seemed pretty stiff. He did throw up a lot of reps on the bench, but his movement skills didn't really impress me a whole lot. Um, this is a good one. Who's the best quarterback prospect? I really do. It was obviously between CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson blew up the testing. CJ Stroud, though, CJ Stroud has a beautiful deep ball. CJ Stroud seemed maybe a little bit more consistent than AR, but AR I think he might have the bigger ceiling. Um, so depending if you're talking just on field drills, CJ may have had just a little notch above, just a little bit, not a whole lot, just a little bit. But AR is also phenomenal as well. Um, the guy who had the worst combine out of all the quarterbacks was the BYU kid. Uh, whew, he did not have a good day throwing, man. He did not have a good day throwing. Yes, there were a couple. There were definitely a couple, but I'm going to leave you hanging on that one because I think they're going to show up in my next mock draft, first mock draft of the year. So I don't want to give it away just yet. There were some defensive tackles that definitely impressed, but I think I'm going to throw them in my mock. And then we will talk about them then. But there are definitely a couple guys where I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good class for the 49ers. Good class for the 49ers. Especially where they're picking. They're going to be able to find some guys. So definitely excited about that. Keep an eye out for mock draft. I'm going to have a mock draft coming hopefully today, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But hopefully have a mock draft coming soon. Oh yeah, I'm ready for the draft, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk prospects. Oh yeah, it took me a while to get up to speed, but I'm ready to go. So shout out all the SDS for checking in. Appreciate you guys as always. And we are going to be back tomorrow for more. Appreciate you guys as always. Smash that like button on your way out. We out of here. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see